Why, hello there, old sports. At the time of writing, 2 days ago, I uploaded a video about who I thought the main or singular ultimate villain of Silksong was. However, since that video came out, multiple people have left some very good comments explaining what I got incorrect, or that I was kind of missing the point. And honestly, I agree. I think I kind of put that video out in a state that I'm not really proud of. I was proud of it at the time, but not now. But I'm not going to delete the video because I'm making this video as, not recompense, that makes it sound like I did something like bad. I'm just going to make this video to explain some of the things that I think I got wrong, and to try to update anyone who watched that video, so we don't go forward with the wrong idea of what happened. Now, the first thing I would like to point out is that the framing of the video did not do me any favors. And by that, I mean I kind of put myself in a corner by trying to say, there is one ultimate villain of Silksong, and I will tell you who it is. Because I think part of the point of Silksong is that sometimes the systems can degrade and become harmful to all those around it. And it takes you and your local communities, or towns, or little settlements. It takes these little groups of people to fix things and make life better. Because sometimes the systems are broken, and we need to fix them as groups together. I truly believe that Silksong is aiming to look at a more nuanced take of how the world can either improve or get worse. It takes groups of people to make things bad, and it takes groups of people to make things better. So trying to write off, or trying to just simplify things down to one person will save the world or one person will ruin it, is not really productive. Because while Hornet does a lot of the heavy lifting, she's only able to get that far because of the people around her. And even when she's off doing things, people like Sherma are helping take care of the wounded. People like Chakra are fighting off the infected, void-haunted bugs, or whatever state you would call that. The Sentinel and Garmin and Zaza work to fight off the haunted bugs in the Citadel, etc., etc. And just like there's so many people who help make the world a little better, I think trying to say that any of the groups in Hollow Knight Silksong that are considered villainous, or saying any of them are innocent, is also kind of missing the point. Due to her beastly and godlike nature, Grandmother Silk caused a lot of the problems that we see throughout Pharloom. And then the Weavers continued it, and the conductors didn't put a stop to it when they had the chance. While there is some vagueness about who was in charge of the Citadel when certain events happened, it is clear that the Weavers were around for most of it. Maybe they weren't in complete control over everything, maybe they assigned the conductors to do things for them and then kind of had a hands-off approach to things while they were still there, but that doesn't really absolve them of much. That just means they were still bad rulers who didn't have enough control over the people they were trying to help. And even then, saying they were trying to help anyone is kind of a messy sentence, because the only help they were trying to offer is to keep Grandmother Silk asleep after some point, and if anything, the only reason that was good for anyone other than them is because Grandmother Silk might go on a rampage once she wakes up. While yes, the Weavers were victims of Grandmother Silk, just because someone is a victim or some people are victims doesn't stop them from victimizing others. They were victims, but then they went on to be abusers themselves. And yes, some of that was out of desperation, but as seen with Hornet, it is possible to break the cycle, even if it's very difficult. I'd also like to point out that I think even the quote-unquote evil groups of Silksong aren't completely immoral. Grandmother Silk is a godlike being and a beast, which means that I'm pretty sure that to some extent her system of morals and her system of understanding the world is completely alien to that of common bugs. Or maybe not completely alien, but she seems a lot more impersonal than something like the Pale King. And just as the Radiance's infection was a byproduct of being forgotten, it wasn't really intentional, I wouldn't be surprised if Grandmother Silk's haunting was something similar, where because her nature is just so far above that of common bugs, it's hard to understand it, but that's just her desperation move in trying to wake up. Being locked away for so long probably breeds resentment within oneself. As I stated in the last video, or to give a recap of the last video, the Weavers are just evolved common beasts of Pharloom that were created by Grandmother Silk so she would have children to parent over in a weird way. But when they created the Citadel, they were probably involved with the creation of the Underworks, and they were probably involved with half the other stuff going on there. And even if they weren't completely hands-on with all the things, those are still systems that they were in control over. And when they decided they wanted to leave to try to escape Grandmother Silk, they left the burden on other bugs. And even if the idea was that everyone would suffer equally, that's still pretty shitty. That's not really a good thing. That just means that they failed. They failed to rule over Pharloom, and they failed to placate their mother. But again, they are victims too, but they're not innocent either. They're morally gray. And while I still stand by my opinion that the conductors probably did the most wrong or have the least reason behind their bad actions, if that makes sense, or, I mean, even if they weren't justifiable, the other two groups felt like they had reasons behind it, while the conductors felt more malicious in a sense of, oh, well, I don't want to suffer, so we'll just make other people suffer for us. In this case, it was either subject someone to suffering or have to deal with a being beyond their understanding and comprehension, so of course they would be scared. And again, implying that the Weavers already had some of these systems in place like the Underworks, it's understandable that they really wouldn't want to shake things up or try to rock the boat, because again, they don't know how stable the whole Grandmother Silk thing is, so they maybe didn't feel like they had a choice, even if they maybe did. It's a lot harder to break a cycle than it is to start one, and I feel like while the conductors are at fault, they were just trying to deal with something they never could have a chance of dealing with. And tying into that, something else I neglected to mention by accident last video is that the economic systems in Pharloom, similar to something like capitalism, it tends to consolidate power upwards, and to the people at the top, when you're hurting people on the bottom in a way that isn't so direct, it's probably easier to disconnect yourself from it. If you're not hurting them yourself, if you're not whipping them yourself, if you're not hitting them themselves, if you're not killing them yourself, then it's easier to just say that it's not your fault, even if it is. And again, when all of these systems are set up, it feels harder to rock the boat and try to change things, even if you're in a place of privilege or have protections, unlike the bugs below you. So, I feel like the conductors probably were able to disconnect themselves from their actions in a sense. So I feel like at least to them, it's harder to apply more malice to them when they may or may not have been even thinking of things that way. One point I do stand by, though, from the first video is kind of how tying religion so deeply into a society can be harmful. So a theocracy, basically. I feel like theocracies are pretty much, I can't really think of any ones that aren't very abusive because things are so tied into religion. When some people have that power over others, it always lean towards authoritarianism. And when you're in a world where you have confirmation that God exists, and you believe a certain group of people can commune with God, of course you're probably going to listen to them. So that just has so much opportunity for people to abuse those systems or thoughts or ideals. Okay, that was supposed to be the end of the video, but then as I was making this, the YouTuber CC Macguy commented on my video, and first of all, I feel very humbled and honored. Well, I know he's just a guy, but seeing that, like, I've gotten to a point where people who actually matter in the Hollow Knight community are interested, or at least see my work is, I don't know, it feels nice. But he also did point out a lot of the stuff I got wrong, and I obviously don't hold anything against him. He was just trying to not spread misinformation. But I just think I decided before I go, since he kind of brought up some good points, I'm going to bring up the one that I thought was the most interesting, and that being the nature of just higher beings and Hollow Nest, or I guess the Pharloom too, and the world of Hollow Knight in general. Something important to mention about higher beings and pale beings within the world of Hollow Knight is, like Hornet mentions, they seem to have an innate instinct to want to dominate mortal bugs and rule over them. Even though I still believe that the Pale King wasn't a tyrant, he still was trying to impose his will on others, even if he was doing it in more of a moral way than the other pale beings we see in the series. The gods in these games are very far from faultless, and they tend to have some of the same moral failings that their mortal kin do. Beings like the Radiance and Grandmother Silk are desperate to impose control over other bugs, even if it's only for their own survival. And even though, like I said, I stand by the fact that the Pale King wasn't a tyrant, he still is similar to a figure like Gwyn from Dark Souls in the sense that he couldn't let go of the world he had built. He would make everyone suffer in stasis, then just let go and let the world he built die. Nothing is meant to last forever, and whether it be locking away the Radiance with the Dreamers and Hallownest, or putting Grandmother Silk to sleep in Pharloom, locking the world in stasis won't let anything move forward. And I think that's what the point of Void is in Hollow Knight. It's just destruction made manifest. If something won't give up on its own, the Void will come for it and take it down by force. The world will move forward whether those in charge want it to or not. And I think that's why in the end, we see Hornet's needle and Lace's pin on the title screen, showing that they're moving forward, just into the future, together. You can appreciate and respect your past without having to hold on to it forever. Or be shackled by it, I guess is a better way of putting it. Thank you so much for watching this video. I know this one is a bit shorter than the last video, but this was supposed to be like a short mini addendum video, and then I had some ideas for some more stuff I wanted to add in at the end, so hopefully this video was enjoyable. I think it's important to look at one's own works and try to find the flaws in them, so you can improve as an artist and a creator. But that's just my silly little opinion. I'm working on a lot of projects right now, including a Hollow Knight challenge run, and maybe an Elden Ring playthrough. I'm not sure about that second one yet, but we will see. I hope that if you enjoyed this video and want to see more, or if you just enjoyed this video, you'll consider commenting, and subscribing. If you like the video, of course. I also have Patreon and channel memberships, but that is always something extra. I hope I never pressure or feel like I'm pressuring anyone into feeling like they need to do that. It's just something that helps me, but it's not necessary. Just the fact that you sit down and watch these videos, or even just listen to them, means so much to me. The fact that anyone cares about what I make means the world to me. And, well, I think I've rambled on long enough. You all have a good day. Like I said, please like, comment, and subscribe. And try to have a good day, or night, or morning, whatever time it is for you. And goodbye.